and welcome to the When Harry Met Onnie podcast. My name is Emily. I live in Hershey, Pennsylvania. By day, I am an attorney, and this podcast is mostly about knitting and crocheting. The name When Harry Met Onnie comes from my two cats, Harry Potter and Onyx. My husband and I had Harry Potter first, and then we adopted Onyx, and hence When Harry Met Onnie, or a pun on When Harry Met Sally, our little family was complete. You can find me on Instagram as When Harry Met Onnie, and on Ravelry as Mmeister. If this is your first time checking out my podcast, thank you so much. Welcome to my little corner of the internet. And if you are a return viewer, returning for episode number 8, thank you so much. Welcome back. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can know when I release a new podcast episode. And also feel free to like this video. And leave a comment below if you want to talk about knitting or crocheting, or let me know what you think of the episode, or connect with me on Instagram or Ravelry. So I have a few announcements before I get into what I've been working on. So first is that last episode 7, I filmed it right before the end of the year. So I released it on December 31st, 2018. And I had said that I would be podcasting every other week in 2019. Well, it is currently January 6th, and here I am. So clearly I haven't stuck to my every other week podcasting schedule. In fact, I have given you one extra episode in between last week and next week. So here I am. I had some things to talk about, so I thought I would come on and make a podcast, and it's been a pretty low-key weekend, so I've had time to put together my script and put my projects together and decide what I want to say about everything. And I had the time to do that, so I figured I would come in and record an episode. I think I will be podcasting next Sunday, January 13th, so look for episode 9 to be released either late Sunday, January 13th, or early on Monday, January 14th. And then I will be podcasting again on Sunday, January 27th, and look for episode number 10 on either late January 27th or early Monday morning on January 28th. So that's the first announcement. The second announcement is I have something special planned for episode 9. I am going to be doing, along with a fellow podcaster, an Ask Me Anything collaboration. So I met Louise, who is Adventures with Yarn on Instagram. She also has a podcast and is just coming out with her 10th episode. We found each other on Instagram, and we're both at a similar episode count for podcasting, but we started watching each other's podcasts, and we have quite a bit in common, and we like what each other is putting out. So Louise and I were messaging on Instagram, and Louise came up with a really great idea to do a special AMA between her and me for her 10th episode and what will be my 9th episode next week. So we each came up with 10 questions to ask each other, and look out for Louise's 10th episode, which I think she will be releasing tomorrow, January 7th. So just a little bit about Louise. She lives in Oregon, I believe. She has a husband. She has a Chihuahua named Houdini, and her podcast is mostly about knitting and crocheting. What I like about her podcast is that I think she and I went through a similar awakening in terms of fiber arts, where I think she even used the phrase that she became yarn woke and realized that there was fiber out there other than what you could buy at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Joann, but she still really values the yarn that you can get at those at those stores. They're budget friendly. They're good for gifts. And speaking of gifts, she is an excellent gift knitter. So her podcast has been very inspiring for me to think about what I might make people, either for the holidays or for birthdays or baby showers. She has some really great ideas for baby gifts and shows a lot of them off. What else? She started podcasting back in November, and so I really like Louise's podcast. It's Adventures with Yarn. I will link to it. I will try to link to it within the video. All of my notes are in the description box below, so look for it there also. And I'll just add that if you have any questions for me that you would like me to answer, in addition to the 10 that I will be answering from Louise, they're really good questions she came up with, so I'm excited to think about what my answers are going to be and do that as part of episode 9. But if you have a question for me, feel free to message me on Instagram or connect with me on Ravelry or leave a comment below and let me know what you want me to answer. So anyway, if you have a question, leave it below and look out for that episode coming next week, episode number 9. And then my final announcement is that I am going to be hosting a knit-along. So I am a member of a Facebook group called the Legally Stitching. It's called Legally Stitching. It's on Facebook, and it's geared toward people who work in the legal profession who do knitting, crocheting, sewing, quilting, embroidery, anything. So if that describes you, definitely go to Facebook and check that out. And I mentioned in was it my last episode or the episode before? I think it was episode number 6 where I went through my Make 9 2019 challenge. One of the projects that I picked was the notorious RBG sweater by Park Williams. And on the Facebook group, somebody posted a link to the pattern and said, guys, I think I'll have to make this at some point. So I commented and said, oh, I bought my yarn for it, and a bunch of other people commented on that post. And then someone else mentioned that there was also a cardigan pattern by a different designer called I Dissent. I think it's by Andrea Rangel. I hope I said that correctly. So there was all this discussion going on around these two sweater patterns, a sweater and a cardigan, around Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And there was also a couple posts from the moderators of the group about, what plans we wanted to have as a Facebook group going into 2019, where the future of the group was headed. So there were some ideas thrown around about maybe doing some kind of make-along or doing crafting for charity and how we could better connect and better utilize the group. So I got my wheels spinning and I thought, you know what? I'm already going to be making the notorious RBG. I already bought the pattern. I have the yarn. So I put together a knit-along. So the basics of the knit-along are that it is going to start on January 15th and it is going to end on March 15th. March 15th will be Ruth Bader Ginsburg's 85th birthday. And if you are participating in the knit-along, you can choose to make either the notorious RBG by Park Williams or the Descent cardigan by Andrea Rangel. And I'll put pictures of both here so that you can see what they look like. Park Williams pattern is $10.50 on Ravelry. She's donating a portion of the proceeds, or she's donating a portion of the money that she makes from the pattern to the ACLU, which I think is pretty cool. And Andrea Rangel's pattern is $10. So they're not the cheapest patterns, but you're going to have an awesome garment that pays tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which I think is pretty awesome. Okay, so there's a Ravelry group, first of all. So I made a Ravelry group. It's called RBGKAL, so RBGKAL, 2 words. There are currently 17 members, so thank you if you've joined that group. And there are going to be 3 ways that you can enter to win a prize. The prizes I'm thinking about right now are either the book Notorious RBG, which tells about the life and times of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It has wonderful pictures and it's a great coffee table book, or a book to read, quite frankly, if you're interested in RBG's life. So I'm thinking of either giving that book as a giveaway or a $25 Knit Picks gift card. So I haven't decided on the prizes yet. If you have an idea for a prize, leave a comment below or shoot me a message. I'm interested in what some other ideas might be for that. Those are just the two that I came up with myself. 3 ways to enter. First is to post a picture of your finished object on the Ravelry group. Second is to post a picture of your finished object on Instagram with the hashtag RBGKAL, RBGKAL. And the third way is to post a picture of your finished object in the Legally Stitching Facebook group. So each person who has finished either a sweater or a cardigan will have 3 different opportunities to win a prize. I will be awarding 3 prizes, 1 per platform, but there is only 1 entry per person per platform. So I hope all of that is clear. Yeah, so that's it for my announcements. If you're interested in participating in that KAL, please join the Ravelry group, join the Facebook group, purchase your yarn, get going, and January 15th it'll kick off, and I think 2 months is plenty of time to knit a sweater or a cardigan. So without further ado, I will get into the knitting and crocheting content, which I'm sure that's what you are here to see anyway. So I do a From the Vault segment, and I talk about finished objects, works in progress, and then my stash enhancements, stash acquisitions, I call prime time. So today I have a From the Vault, I have 2 works in progress, and I have several items to share in prime time. So let's just get right into it. From the Vault, I have a crochet project that I made for my husband back when we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and that is a crochet Sackboy. So if you are not familiar with where this little guy comes from, he is a character in a video game called Little Big Planet. I hope I got that right. Yes, Little Big Planet. Logan plays a lot of video games, and he one day asked me if I could make him a Sackboy. And after saying, what the heck is a Sackboy, he showed me a picture, and I said, I could probably put something like that together. Only to go on Ravelry and look up Sackboy and find patterns for Sackboy, which thank goodness I found that. Which is a really cool thing about making amigurumi, is that you can, find a pattern for something, but then mod it based on exactly what you want the finished product to look like. If you want it to have other elements other than what are in the pattern, you can pull from different patterns. So I found a pattern. It is called the Sackboy Open Mouth and Zipper by Annie Amour. It's $5. There are several projects associated with this pattern. And let's see. He's got buttons for eyes. He's got a pink felt tongue. He's got some stitching on his the sides of his arms, and then the top of his head, and his legs. And he has a working zipper. So I sewed that in. Yeah, so I'm really proud of this, and it is mostly for decoration. So Logan actually just bought a new standing desk. And he said he was going to put this on his standing desk after I'm done showing it off. So what else do I want to say? Oh, I believe it is made out of Red Heart yarn. I'm not positive. And I will just throw up a picture of what Sackboy looks like in the video game so you can compare. I think I made some modifications, mostly to the stitching. And I don't remember. I made it so long ago. I made this in May of 2014. I finished it in July of 2014. There is Sackboy from the vault. Next up are works in progress. I have 2 active works in progress to share. The first is living in my NSP Designs kitten bag. This is a medium-sized project bag. It has a handle. I've talked about NSP Designs before. Really lovely constructed bags. I love the lining. and nicely made. Thanks, Nicole. So in here is my Annalise wrap shawl. I've made some progress on this, although I'm still in the portion of the pattern that's just teal. So I just thought I would share this. I would like to be farther next time, so this is more of an accountability thing than anything else. But that's where I am for the teal. I don't think I have too many more rows before I can start fading in the blue, which will be this color. And then I have, for my last color, will be purple, which is up on the wall. It's that one right there. So the pattern is by Loop Yarn in Philadelphia. They were selling these Annalise wrap shawl kits. It's a nice asymmetrical shawl, and you increase and decrease on the same row every other row. It's fingering weight yarn. These are a size 6 needle, and the yarn is knitted wit in Victory Fingering, 100% superwash merino, and this is the Rock Candy set. So all of the colors say Rock Candy, but they, you know, they're like blue and teal and green and red and what have you. So that is my Annalise wrap shawl. I really want to finish this. I have been working on this project since probably I think the beginning of the podcast. So back in June is when I cast it on, and it just needs to be done. It's, you know, it is like a summery shawl, but I really want to wear it. You know, I think about it with like a white blouse and just, you know, wrapped around my neck. So yeah, hopefully I'll have more progress. The reason I don't have so much progress on this is because last week I was finishing up my pointed fur shawl, and I got distracted by my gift yarn from Logan and made a hat, the antler hat, and then now I'm working on a sweater. My next work in progress is the Umqua by Caitlin Hunter. I have made quite a bit of progress on this. It is a bottom-up sweater knit in the round, and I am knitting this out of yarn that Logan gifted me for the holidays. The yarn is from Humble Hen Farm Nursery in Abbottstown, Pennsylvania. It is a alpaca merino blend. It is worsted weight, and I got 3 colors for the holidays. So this ivory color is, I'm just gonna say the alpaca's name. So this is Cyrana. So I even like looked up how to say that and I forget. This brown that's gonna be the border and is like contrast color 1 is Princess. And then I have a really beautiful tan color that I showed off last episode. That is Dolly. So this is the sweater. This came out in June of last year. Here's another picture. And it hasn't gained as much traction as a lot of Caitlin's other patterns. I actually saw this sweater knit up by somebody in Christy Glass's Tell Me About Your Rhinebeck Sweater 2018 video, and I saw her wearing it and immediately favorited it on Ravelry. And then, for Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted, one of my yarn wishes was to have somebody gift me one of my favorited patterns on Ravelry. So I was lucky enough that Heidi, who is Genius Rocks, I hope I'm saying that right, but Heidi gifted me the Umqua by Caitlin Hunter, which was so nice. So it was really great to already have the pattern and immediately cast it on. It right now is living in my Shuttle, Spindles, and Skeins tote. I've actually only really been working on it at home so far. So I have the working yarn in my Knit Picks yarn bowl that my assistant from work bought me. Really lovely yarn bowl. I actually broke one of my yarn bowls a long time ago that I bought at a craft show, and I was really sad. So I won't break that one. But yeah, so let me talk a little bit about what I've been doing so far. So I had to rip this back twice at almost the very beginning. The first was that this is just a simple 2x2 rib, but I messed it up somewhere and I could not figure out how to fix it. So that was the first time I ripped it out. And that was before the new year started. So then I had no sweater on my needles for the new year, and I saw that the grocery girls were hosting a speedy sweater cal, where you have to knit a sweater, so January 1st to January 31st, and you time yourself and you see how fast you can do it. So I started knitting the size B, and Caitlin has sizes A through H, and I looked at the bust size for the B, and it said something like, I think that one was 38 inches. So I cast it on and I was knitting it, and I was over at my parents' house, and like my mom and I were kind of joking about how small it looked. And then I actually like looked at it a little more, and I said to her, I was like, I don't think this is going to fit at all. Like this just doesn't look right. Of course I didn't gauge. I didn't swatch. Oops. I'm just kind of winging it, honestly. This is going to fit me now. Like this is plenty big enough. But anyway, so I went back and looked at the pattern, and I looked at the chest measurements, and I was thinking about like the 38 from like from a bra size. And I did not take a measurement from like the fullest part of my bust, which I think is what you're supposed to do for this chest measurement, and also it wants an inch of positive ease. So I like took out my tape measure and quickly measured, and I should have been knitting the size up, the size C instead of the B. So that would give me, based on my measurement, an inch of positive ease. It's 41.75 inches. So I think this will be good now that I have it right. But I spent 4 hours knitting the wrong size, ripped back everything. It was a real bummer, and I just felt really silly that I just didn't take the time to do think about it thoroughly. But we're back on the right track. I have about 6 inches left for the body. And I have my progress keepers here. I have this like unicorn frappuccino one. And so this is where I got to on Friday. And then this is where I got to on Saturday. And then I've knit this much today. So I am 12 hours in, and I will also be submitting this for the for Blamed Under Knit Along. It's my first sweater. I know a lot of people are doing their first sweaters, so I have to have it finished by January 31st anyway for the Grocery Girls cal. So I think I'm gonna double dip. I hope that's okay. But yeah, the yarn is not the softest. I think it will soften up when I wash it. I know some people swear by like wool wash, but it just doesn't feel the best against my skin right now. It honestly feels a little bit like straw. So I hope it'll get softer. If not, I will wear a shirt under it. That's fine. I will roast to death in my hand knits if I have to. And I'm on my second skein of Cyrana. So we're just plowing right through this. I'm a little nervous because I've never knit a sweater before. I have watched a couple of videos on bottom-up sweater construction, so I think I know what I should be doing in terms of joining the sleeves and continuing on through the yoke. I took one class on how to make short rows, so I am confident that I can get through the short row shaping for the back. I might put a few lifelines in, but yeah, I think it will be good. You know, there's just so many resources online. I have a few knitting books that I can crack open and see if they have any advice on bottom up sweaters. So I'm very excited to have this. And oh, I also have another like a little unicorn stitch marker. Unicorn Frappuccino and a unicorn. These were from the Christy Glass Knits Asylum Fibers Unicorn Cow, Unicorn Along. They sent a nice kit with some yarn for a shawl that I did not make, and several stitch markers and other fun goodies. There you have it, the beginning of my first sweater, the Umqua by Caitlin Hunter. All right, my next and final segment this week is Prime Time, where I share yarn that I've purchased, things that I've purchased that relate to knitting, crocheting, or fiber, things that I've been gifted, trips to my local yarn store. So this week I have two different things. I received a package from the Woolen Homestead with an order that I had placed. So the first item I got was another skein of Hunter's Orange. So I was going through the Flax Light pattern and I realized that the 3 skeins that I had were probably not going to be enough to knit the Flax Light. This is on their Sturdy Sock fingering base. It is 75/25 superwash merino wool and nylon. It is 4-ply, 438 yards. So I had 3 skeins of this and it was about 1,300 yards. I had the same issue that I had with the Umqua with Caitlin Hunter, where I was not factoring in the size I would need if I wanted to have any positive ease. So the size I want to knit the Flax Light, I need about 1,400 yards. So I grabbed the last skein that they had in one of their shop updates. I think it was like 2 weeks ago they had it. And while I was there, you know, I mean, you can't just walk away with one skein of yarn, right? So I bought this beautiful color. This is called Lovebird. This is on their new Merino DK base. It is 100% superwash merino. It just has these lovely, really dark purples, yellows, and pinks. I am in the market for a fade for the Cafe Knitting Shawl by Stephen West. Yes, that requires sport weight yarn. I'm considering making it DK. I don't know. This is so soft. I could see making a fade with something like this, with either like a purple, like a variegated purple, or like a gray maybe. I actually have a couple skeins from Dragon Horde yarn that I'm thinking might work. I don't know though. They might be a little too different to work as a fade. We'll see. But that's kind of my plan with this, is to find a good fade for it. Who knows though, I could change my mind. But these are dyed by the Woolen Homestead. It is a husband-wife team. Tiffany and Ethan, they're pretty popular. They have a very popular podcast called The Woolen Homestead, and they both knit. So it's cool to see not only what projects Tiffany's working on, but also what Ethan is working on. So I'd recommend checking out their podcast if you haven't already. And they just said also, I watched their most recent podcast, and they just changed their DK base. So they used to have one called Polwarth, but now they're using this Merino DK base, which they say is softer. I'd never worked with the Polwarth, but this is really, really soft yarn. So yeah, it seems like it'll be a great yarn to work with, and I absolutely love the color. My second set of yarn purchases came from our trip to the Pennsylvania Farm Show. Woohoo! So if you are from Pennsylvania, you must have heard of the Farm Show. I guess maybe if you live in like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, you might not have heard of it, but anywhere in between, which is where I live, you definitely know about the Farm Show. So how I explain the Farm Show to people who have never been, I just use a few key phrases. Milkshakes, butter sculpture, livestock, bunny hopping competitions, and that's about it. But it is like an 8-day long event. It is held in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania at the Farm Show Expo Center. Yes, they have a whole expo center dedicated to the farm show. There's all kinds of agriculture competitions, livestock competitions. There's a lot of education about agriculture and conservation. And there are plenty of vendors. So I think most of them, if not all of them, are from Pennsylvania, and a lot of really great food. Pennsylvania Dairymen's Association puts on a fantastic feast of milkshakes and fried cheese cubes. So if you're ever in Pennsylvania during the first week of January, head on down to the Farm Show Expo Center and check it out. So, I had the visitor's guide here, just to give you a little taste of what it's about. You see some livestock, there's like rodeo competition, there's pies, all sorts of things. Milkshakes. I mean, the thing to get is a farm show milkshake. That's what anyone who has been will tell you, is like, you gotta get a farm show milkshake. So we went for the first day, which was yesterday on Saturday, and I was in the market, as I always am, to see if anyone had fiber. And they had like the Pennsylvania Alpaca Breeders Association there, and I came across 2 booths that were selling yarn. So the first one that I bought was from Pure American Naturals. It is a goat farm. And I picked up this skein of Angora Merino. It was $30. I can't remember what the yardage is on it, and it didn't come with a tag. I think it was like maybe 200 yards. But I talked with the guy for a while about farming Angora goats. And Angora goats are the ones that produce mohair. So I was letting him know all about the trends with mohair, to like hold mohair with fingering weight and make really nice hats or sweaters. So he was interested in that. And here's his card. It's like a coaster, which is kind of cool, like a reusable business card as a coaster. But I got into this really interesting discussion with the owner about the sustainability of alpacas versus Angora goats. So that I thought was fascinating. He pretty much told me about what is called the alpaca pyramid, where a lot of people who were breeding alpacas were buying them for like tens of thousands of dollars. And then so many were on the market that now it's not sustainable to have them as livestock. They require special feed. You can only shear them once a year, and you can't even shear all of their fleece. So we had a really great conversation about that. I had no idea that was going on, and that was a thing, I guess. So he had like all these really cute pictures of his Angora goats, and I had to pick up a skein of this, and it's in this really, I called it lovingly puke green, but I really like it. It's worsted weight, so I'm thinking, maybe hat, maybe some mittens, some fingerless mitts maybe. I don't have a lot of things this color. I guess that's not even true. That's some like green, yellow. So anyway, happy to support the Pure American Naturals farm and pick up a skein of their goat merino yarn, Angora merino yarn. The second vendor I stopped at was Thunder River Alpaca. This was a vendor that I had seen at Knitter's Day Out in September, and I asked her if that was her there, and she said, like, we remembered each other from Knitter's Day Out. She said she thought I looked familiar and didn't know if I had been there earlier that morning, but then I told her about Knitter's Day Out, and anyway. So they have at their farm Surrey alpacas and Imperial Tibetan yaks. So I saw a skein of this sock yarn and picked it up. It is 3-ply fingering, 70% Surrey alpaca, 20% merino, 10% nylon, 400 yards. And it looks like they gave the names of the alpacas that it came from. So I think it came from Teodoro, Frisco, and Miguel. So thank you, alpacas, for your contributions to my wardrobe. But I really love this, this plaid look. I really like that. I've been into that recently. I showed off that one skein of yarn from Boulder, Colorado that had that going on too. So there's her card. And while I was at it, I picked up a skein of yak. So I've never worked with yak before, but she had a basket of these already spun up. And I really love this shade of purple. And this is 100% Tibetan yak down. It is a lightweight yarn. It seems like a DK to me. 200 yards. And this one was 24 bucks. And the sock yarn, I think, was also, yeah, it was also 24 bucks. Not too shabby. Like the Lovebird from the Woolen Homestead, I'm thinking of starting to use this with another yarn and do things with more color instead of just using like trying fades and things like that. So that's my tentative plans with this skein of yarn. For this will just be socks, and this is so soft. I don't think they'll be very durable socks, but they'll be fun. And if I have to darn them, I don't know if I could do that, but I'm willing to. It was very lovely. So that was my farm show haul. That's all I have for this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Again, if you liked the episode, please feel free to like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't miss next week, episode 9, for my Adventures with Yarn, Ask Me Anything collaboration. And make sure to check out her video where she'll be answering the 10 questions that I had for her. All right, well, until then, happy crafting, have a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye!